Q&A 2024. Hello, you've asked, so I'm going to answer. It's a new day and a new dawn or something bollocks. What the hell am I saying? I have no idea. Let's just go to my channel and I will see what the questions are underneath last week's Q&A. And we will see what questions you want me to answer. Okay, so we've got a few. First up, from Wolfgang Basics 3257, would you consider doing a Doctor Who tag video? I have no idea what that is. What's the Doctor Who tag video? Answers on a postcard. Mark McCambridge. Oh, hang on, we've got quite a few here. Bloody hellfire. Mark McCambridge has given me about 50 here, so this will be here about half an hour. Okay, first question from Mark. Do you read Stephen King, Dean Koontz, or any other horror authors? Well, I used to. I did in the 90s and the early 2000s. I don't really read these days. My attention span is dead, and I don't know most of the authors these days because I know King and Koontz are still around, but they're not very good these days, and I don't know who the modern horror authors are because I'm completely out of touch. And the library, which I haven't even been to for a few years, but the library up here is really weirdly done. The library that we had in like South Australia, it was like in genres, so you could go to the horror shelf and look at the horror books. Here it's in like alphabetical order of the last name of the freaking authors. So it's like if you don't know who the authors are, and there's no like genre categories or anything like that. It's like you spend all day even looking for one horror book, let alone. But yeah, I read a lot of King and Koontz back in the day. I read a lot of like James Herbert, Richard Lehman was one. Oh man, I loved Richard Lehman. That guy was one sick fuck. I'm sure I've said this before. Who's sicker, the guy that writes them or the guy that reads them? I don't know. But yeah, he was like one of the first possibly the extreme horror authors that I ever read. Because I remember reading the first book of his that I'd ever got out of the library, which was called Endless Night. And back in those days, I used to kind of read a bit. I used to like have a drink and read a bit while in bed before turning the light off and going to sleep. And with this, I started his book, and I was up reading it till like 3 o'clock in the morning because it like starts on page 1 and just shit kicks off. It was about this teenage girl who's on a sleepover with her best friend, and then their house gets invaded by this pack of thrill serial killers who wear human flesh. And they basically murder her best friend and all of her best friend's family apart from a little brother, and she and the little brother are the only survivors, but then they're witnesses, so they've got to be dealt with. That was and like 50% of the book is like written from the perspective of the girl, but the other 50% is written from the perspective of one of the killers, and it's like sick fuckery to the extreme. Like, okay, I'm astonished this sort of thing can even get published. Happy days. 2. Will you do a book collection or DVD Blu-ray collection video? I have done sort of that. A couple of years ago, I did like a photo tour of my media room, but last year I did an actual video of like my Doctor Who collection, the DVDs and Blu-rays of them and some of the books. I didn't really do like a complete one because it's big. I might do sometime, but it'll probably wait until after I've moved, because I'm supposedly moving, and it's stress. Stress. But yeah, I have done a Doctor Who DVD Blu-ray collection one. You can see it. It was it was last year, I think. So 3. Do you miss living in the UK? Yes. I might be going back soon as well, so I don't know. It's all very odd at the moment. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether it's just like, rose-colored glasses, because I was 16 when we came, and I was happy as a kid and in my teens, not so much as an adult. So I don't know, but yes, yeah, I kind of do. I hate the weather up here in North Queensland. It's too fucking hot. I'm sorry. It's just killing me. 4. Have you ever played any of the old Doctor Who video games like Dalek Attack or Destiny of the Doctors? No, I didn't get a computer till like late 2004, and I've never been a gamer. I've just never been particularly interested. I've tried like a couple of games, and I get fed up after about 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, can I do something else now? It's just, and I've never played a Doctor Who one. No. Question 5. Will you marry me? No. No offense, but judging from your name, you're probably not my type. He says he's only joking, but I think that's just to cover the hurt. 6. Have you listened to any more Big Finish or any other type of audio dramas as of late? No. I haven't listened to Big Finish for, I don't know, at least six years or so. I don't know. I just gave up. I just lost interest. I started getting boring. There were a few that were alright. 7. Do you read Marvel or DC or any comics at all? No. Oh dear, I'm sorry. I'm really boring, aren't I? No. I never read comics. I never read comics as a kid. The only comics I ever read were like the Return of the Jedi weekly comic in like the early 80s that there was. And I read a few of the Doctor Who magazine comic strips in the late 80s. I've never been a comics guy. 8. Who was your Doctor Who companion crush? He says his was Clara. I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure I ever really had a crush on any of them. Fancy, maybe, but not necessarily crush. I had somebody on a forum not long since say, what's the difference? And it's like, well, fancy is, yeah, she's hot. And crush is like, marry me. I guess Ace would be the closest. And obviously I love Lala, and I loved Amy as well. That's about the closest, I guess. 9. Any anime you watch? The only anime I've watched was one on Netflix when I first got it a couple of years ago, called High Rise Invasion, which was very weird. I did watch the whole thing. It was very weird. I quite liked it, but it didn't particularly inspire me to watch any of the others. It seems to be like this. It seems to be like this whole big thing that you. This seems very intimidating to try and get into it, and I'm not necessarily sure I care enough to. 10. Do you think Doctor Who is a rip-off of the 1906 French book Dr. Omega? No, I really doubt it. I don't see it. I think Doctor Who was very much H.G. Wells' Time Machine. That's what that kind of thing was from, with a bit of Jules Verne thrown in. I very much doubt that anybody on the production team in the early 1960s had ever read a 1906 French book. I really just don't see that happening. How many beans make 5? I don't know, 5, 6? I don't know. 12. If there was a film about Buffy teaming up with the little vampire and Kolchak to fight Dracula, would you watch it? I don't know. I mean, what kind of film? I mean, do you mean an animation or like an AI recreation? Because obviously, I wouldn't want some kind of live action version done nowadays, because how would that work? The actors are either too old to do it or dead, or too dead to do it. One would hope that it would be a better Dracula episode than the one we did get in Buffy, which was fucking terrible. I suppose if there was like an animation or an AI version, it might be interesting. I don't know. 13. Super curious about this, but have you ever watched an old crappy horror film from 1987 called Berserker? He says, if you haven't, don't bother, it's shit. If you have, well, it was shit, wasn't it? Yes, I have, and yes, it was. I think this was one that I picked up on Blu-ray a few years ago in a blind buy. Thing about blind buying any kind of movies, even like 80s stuff, you just don't know. Sometimes you get like a Budgeons or a Madman, and you're like, how have I never heard of this movie before? This is awesome. And sometimes you get a Berserker, and you completely understand why you've never heard of it before, because it was shit. Yeah, it was rubbish. 14. Are you my mummy? Thumbs up if you understood the ref. Well, duh. And yes, I am your mummy. So go to your room. You've been a naughty boy. Sorry, this is getting weird now. 15. If you were given a dare to be paid $1 million to spend 24 hours alone in a cellar with the tar man from Return of the Living Dead, would you do it? Well, that would depend on the circumstances. Is he chained up? Do I have a weapon? I mean, if he's securely chained up and I have a weapon, just in case he somehow gets out, yeah, maybe. Otherwise, no. 16. If Freddy Krueger was your bus driver, like in A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, where would you want him to drop you off? I don't know. What the hell kind of weird ass questions are these? I don't know. Pin Oak Court, circa 1990. I don't know. 17. Do you like to draw? No. I suck. I'd like to draw, but I suck. I'm sorry. I'm just terrible at it. And I can't the computer version of it as well. I'm stuck at that as well. I just suck, basically. 18. Have you ever been to the Sydney Opera House? Yes, I went. Bloody hell, like 29 years ago now. In like 95, we went on holiday. We went to a few places in Australia, and Sydney was one of them. And yeah, we saw the Opera House. Long time ago now. 19. Am I giving you too many questions? Well, no. I mean, it's something to say, you know. It saves this video being about 4 minutes long, even if most of my answers are no. Sorry. 20. How are you feeling? Hope you're doing good. Tired. I'm just really, really tired. It's been a horrible few years. I've lost both my parents in the last 3 years, and I'm stuck up in North Queensland, sweating my balls off, trying to think what the hell to do. I'm very much looking into going back to the UK, but then you hear these things that really put you off. But it's like, I've got to do something. I'm dying of boredom here. Sorry, that was probably a bit too much information. I'm great. How are you? 21. How many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll of a Tootsie Pop? I have no idea. Let's get some hot chick to do it and count. Okay, so other people. That was his last question. Okay, Nerdy Texan Accountant 7159 says, what would Doctor Who have to get you to do to come back to watch it? It would have to go away, come back, throw away the entirety of New Who, do a proper sequel to the original show with a proper Doctorish Doctor in proper Doctor Who stories and a series of serials, and just throw away all of the modern bollocks. Unfortunately, it will never happen, so why bother? Why bother thinking about it? They'll never do it. I mean, this shit's been going for nearly 20 years now. An entire generation, I said in a YouTube comment a while back, an entire generation has grown up and they think this shit is Doctor Who now. So with each passing year, the chances of getting anything that ever resembles the original show again just get smaller and smaller and smaller. And I just can't see it. It would have to be run by completely different people and done in a completely different way to what they're doing now. And I don't see that happening, so... Ray Venkman 2087 says, what's worse to make sense of continuity and lore-wise? New Who's retcons to Classic Who, or New Trek's relationship with Classic Star Trek? Well, I'm going to have to say New Who, though that's largely because I haven't watched a lot of New Trek, and B, although I like Star Trek, it's never meant as much to me as Doctor Who did, so obviously that pisses me off more. The only New Trek I've watched is Picard season 3, because the rest of it just sounds absolutely bloody awful. That being said, I think Picard season 3 kind of showed that they could fix Star Trek if anybody wanted to. You just make Star Trek and ignore all the nonsense. It's harder to see how they can ever, like we just had the question before, it's harder to see how they can ever get Doctor Who back to being Doctor Who. Because in order to do that, they're going to have to throw away all of this shit. And I don't think the egos involved would ever allow that to happen. So, yeah, I think Doctor Who's probably been damaged more. Though a more hardcore Star Trek fan may have a different opinion. Doug's Film 9810 says, what are your favourite episodes from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and have you seen the Buffy spin-off Angel? Oh bloody hell. I mean, that first one, that's a very difficult question, because I love Buffy. I think an easier question would be, are there any Buffy episodes you don't like, of which there were like maybe one or two. Very, very, very few indeed. I think I mentioned the Buffy Dracula episode earlier, which was fucking terrible. Which is ironic, because that's the first episode of season 5, and season 5 is probably my overall favourite. That's really terrible opener. It was also the first one that wasn't done by Joss Whedon, which may or may not be relevant, but I just thought that one was way too bloody silly. But what are my favourite episodes? I don't know. There's so many. I mean, it's a great show. It's up there. I mean, that's up there with proper Doctor Who for me. And there's not even any nostalgia with that, because Buffy was entirely in my freaking 20s. I didn't watch that when I was a kid, obviously. I don't know, off the top of my head, from season 1, Witch, The Pack, The Puppet Show, and Prophecy Girl. From season 2, School Hard, Halloween, Lie to Me, The Dark Age, Innocence, Passion, Becoming. From season 3, Band Candy, Gingerbread, Earshot, The Prom, Graduation Day. From season 4, The Initiative, Hush, This Year's Girl. From season 5, No Place Like Home, Listening to Fear, Blood Ties, Spiral, The Body, The Gift from season 6, Becoming, The Bargaining. Sorry, I'm getting confused. The Bargaining, two-parter that opened the season. Pretty much all like the last 4 episodes. From season 7, Conversations with Dead People. I'm struggling to think of more from season 7. It's probably like my least favourite season. It's not terrible, but it's harder to find more standouts. I guess like Sleeper. What will it Bring on the Night? And like the last episode. I mean, I love Buffy. Have I seen? I watched Angel at the time. I have it on DVD. I don't love it as much as Buffy. I know there's been this thing in recent years where people are trying to be all cool and iconoclastic and say Angel was actually better than Buffy. No, it wasn't. I'm sorry. No, it wasn't. I like Angel, but I like some of it more than others, and it seemed to flip flop all the time as to what the hell it wanted to be. One minute it's like a quirky detective show, the next minute it's a supernatural soap opera, the next minute it's a supernatural 24, and the next minute it's a weird lawyer show. I don't know, that show never seemed to really know what the hell it was doing half the time. I liked some of the characters. Some seasons were better than others. I'm one of the 5 people that think season 4 was by far the best season of that show. And I find it difficult to watch 2 and 3 this time. Because I don't know, I'm not that. They really kind of focused on the backstory in that in seasons 2 and 3, and I'm just not interested in that backstory of Angel and that all that much. As Spike might say, all that Anne Rice crap. That stuff doesn't really appeal to me all that much. So I was kind of bored by a lot of that stuff. And Wolfram and Hart also kind of got on my tits after a while. It was an interesting idea at first, this kind of evil law firm, but then it just became clear that they were just there to be these all-purpose bad guys, and there was no real story with them and no real payoff to it, and it just kind of went on and on and on. It's like, yeah, okay. I think we had I think I prefer the Buffy method of having the arc contained in one season, and then we do something else more interesting next season. I did like season 4. I know people have a problem with that season. That was by far my favourite season of Angel because it was so batty and so much fun. But anyway, yeah, I have seen Angel, obviously. Like I said, Buffy, I would put up there with Classic Who. Angel, I don't know, it's somewhere down the pack with a lot of other shows. It's not up there with those, in my opinion. And I have other shows that I would put over it. Okay, Time for Teletubbies fan. Have you changed your name? Wasn't it just Time for Teletubbies a while ago? Or is it a different person? I don't know. Has 3 questions. Okay, 1, did you watch the 60th specials? If so, what did you think? No, I didn't. I mean, I put out a video about this at the time. I was planning to. I mean, I was very skeptical, because I didn't think much of the Davis era the first time around. I didn't think much of Tennant and Tate the first time around. But I was willing to give it a shot. I'd got Disney Plus. I'd got it early to make sure I could get it and it would work on my TV. I did enjoy rewatching The Practice for the first time in 20 years. And then they did that Children in Need thing and shat all over Davros. And I just went, fuck you, Russell. Fuck you, you insane old cunt. And I deleted the app and unsubscribed, and I've not seen any of it. And from what I've heard of it, I didn't miss much. It sounds like I dodged a bullet big time. So no. It's pretty impressive, though. You have to admit, it's pretty impressive, even for Russell T. Dingleberry breath, that he managed to fucking torpedo it before I'd even seen the first episode, just by opening his big fat stupid mouth and coming out with his usual retarded bollocks. No. No, go away. I'm not coming back. Sorry. You had one job, Rusty, and you couldn't even manage that. 2, have you seen the coloured version of the Daleks? No, and I'm not going to. I was kind of interested in the idea of colorization. I'm not at all interested in bastardization. These people think they know better than the people who made the original show. They think they're better than them. And of course the irony is they're completely worse on almost every conceivable level. Knocking a story down by literally 50% and re-editing it and rescore. Who the fuck do you people think you are? Seriously? Who the hell do you think you are? I mean, I remember back in the day, like the late 80s or whenever it was, fans were campaigning to get the VHS releases to be unedited. You know, because the first bunch we got, they were like movie versions with the reprises and the cliffhangers and the titles cut out of the middle episodes. Now apparently a version of a story with 50% of the actual fucking story is acceptable. Have IQs just dropped sharply in the last 30 odd years? Yes, I suppose they have. No, I'm not. I know, I'm not indulging that kind of crap. I'm sorry. I think it's ridiculous. It's like the animations in a way. It's like this is something that could have appealed. You know, giving an old story a fresh lick of paint, it could have appealed if they just colorized it in a well. I mean, honestly, the colorization looks kind of shit from this I've seen. Colored it in a respectful, tasteful manner, and that's it. But no, they're bastardizing the whole thing. So no, fuck off. You don't get my money. Go away. Just no. 3, if given the opportunity, you could recover all missing episodes, fully restored and ready to watch. But in doing so, you have to watch the timeless children and have to say something positive about it, and it can't be ended. Would you do it? No, I wouldn't. I'm sorry, I'm not watching this crap. You're not getting me to sit down and watch this crap under any circumstances. Graham Mackay 7546 says, who's your best toy maker actor, Michael Gough or Neil Patrick Harris? You know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say Michael Gough. I mean, A, I didn't watch The Giggle, and B, while I have nothing against Neil Patrick Harris, from the looks of it, it looks like it was very much camp John Sim master performance, wasn't it? That has very little to do with the original. And let's face it, Michael Gough is in a somewhat different stratosphere to Neil Patrick Harris anyway. No offence. Fadi Kouri 5350. Why has everybody got numbers on their names these days? It's very weird. Says, do you think that when the classic era brought back actors more than 3 times, it might have made the show feel unreal, seeing repeated actors like Michael Sheard, etc., when they could have been given to other actors or actresses, especially since these actors would have come back after a couple of seasons? No, because people had imagination back then. It wasn't like today with this kind of sad, pathetic generation of fans that needed an explanation as to why an actor was being reused. Like, we have to have some nonsense that, you know, the chick that was in Torchwood, oh, she was a descendant of her from the Unquiet Dead. No, it was just the same bloody actress. And we have to have an explanation as to why Capaldi has that face, because he was in a different episode. No, he's an actor playing a character. That's why he looks the same. It's just, I mean, bloody hell, one of my favourite freaking shows, The Bill, they reused actors tons of times. You often see actors coming back after a couple of years playing different characters. In some cases, and what you see, you see regular actors on the show in guest roles a couple of years before they become regular characters. There's quite a few of them. There was the Beach, there was Boyden, there was Polly, there was Dave Quinnen, Bolton. There were quite a few of those actors were kind of there in guest roles a few years before they showed up as regulars. Does it matter? Does it bother me? No, it's fun to see them. I just don't understand this weird mentality. We have to have an explanation as to why they look alike. It's because it's the same actor. It's one thing. I do think it is one thing to reuse a regular actor later on as a guest actor in a different role. I do think that's kind of stupid. So I can understand some people being a bit with the Jacqueline Hill thing in Meglos. But no, otherwise, I know. Following from this, is there an actor you wish who appeared on the show? Pick as many as you like. I don't know. God, you're putting me on the spot. I mean, I think there's a few actors, like some of whom have popped up on New Who, but it's like you kind of wish they'd been in the real show, like Roy Marsden. Totally wasted in New Who. He's got like 2 fucking scenes in Smith and Jones. It's like, this is Roy Marsden. Give him a bloody part, for fuck's sake. If it had been a classic Who, it'd have been a 4-parter or something, and he'd have got a meaty role. Instead, it's New Who, and he's there for 2 scenes. It's like, really? Why? What a complete waste of a great actor. James Bolam, that's somebody I would have liked to have seen do a Doctor Who. I mean, we got Rodney Bewes, but we never got James Bolam. That's kind of sad. I don't know if he was ever asked. Don't know. He says, how would you fix the unit dating controversy? I wouldn't, because I don't care. I don't care. It's not something that keeps me up at night, to be honest. I think the only kind of real kind of problem there is like with Sarah in Pyramids of Mars when she says from 1980. But it's like, even then she could just be talking generalities, because obviously he's just shown her the alternate future where Sutek's destroyed the Earth and says that's 1980, and she says I'm from 1980. She's from 76. She could just be generalizing. Who cares? It's not something that I really give a toss about. It says, do you like the Carry On films? No, not really. I've never really seen them. It's one of those where I was like, I wouldn't mind, because I like old stuff and I like British old stuff. But I've never really. I vaguely remember them from when I was a kid. I think I tried one of the old black and white ones a few years ago and didn't get on with it. I don't know. So not really, but not in a necessarily negative way. I've just never really been able to get into them. Do you think they should do a film on 80s Doctor Who, just how they did in Adventure in Space and Time? No, I'd rather see them do an honest one on the RTD era, and the bullying that was going on set, and being overlooked by the likes of Russell and Phil Collinson and all the rest of them, and how terrible they treated Eccleston and John Barrowman antics. I'd rather see an honest documentary about that. I bet they never do, not while Davis is pulling strings anyway. Okay, Sally Wagonblatt 5188 says 2 questions. What do you think of fake Doctor Who stupid bi-regeneration stuff, and should Neighbours have ever been brought back? The first one, I think it's just about the dumbest thing I've ever heard, and I think it just solidifies my opinion that Russell T Davies is a moron who has no idea what he's doing. I am seriously beginning to question whether he was ever actually a fan, because he doesn't seem to understand a single fucking thing about it. He doesn't understand the character of the Doctor. He doesn't understand regeneration. He doesn't understand anything. The guy is literally a babbling moron. I'm sorry. It's absolutely stupid. It makes no sense. And some people have said it's so dumb. Shoot is not the Doctor then, because Tennant is still the Doctor. So why isn't there a series on him? He's more like a clone or something. He's like Jenny from The Doctor's Daughter. And as for that nonsense about it, all the doctors have done that. Oh, do fuck off, Russell. You don't get to say what happened in the classic Who. It's not yours. Fuck off, you insane old hack. I'm sorry, it's just absolute retarded nonsense that makes no sense. New Who's just complete garbage at this point. How can anyone even watch it or defend it? I just don't understand, because it's such dumb crap now. And as for the latter, no, it shouldn't. I mean, I haven't seen any of it. I have no idea what's going on in it. I don't care. It's like, I think I said this last year. It's like nothing can ever just die anymore. Everything has to go on for bloody ever, long past the point where anybody gives a shit anymore. So no. The answer's no. And final questions. Good job, my voice is going. From Gary Bryant 5946. Favourite Blake 7 episodes and favourite Star Trek movie? Well, the form is simple because I don't have any, because I don't watch Blake 7. I've never really seen it. I've tried like the first episode a couple of times. I just can't get into it. Maybe I should try one of the more regular episodes, like when it's up and running or something. I don't know. It's just, I've never been able to get into it. I don't know why. I just never have. Favorite Star Trek movie? Probably Star Trek 6, I think. Undiscovered Country. I mean, I like all the original cast movies apart from 5. I think they're all good. They're all fun. They're all thoroughly entertaining. But I think 6 is probably the best. It's really, really enjoyable, really tight. It's like a tight political thriller, conspiracy thriller, just in Star Trek. And I think it's really good. And I think the cast's really good. The Shat is at his best. Yeah, I love Star Trek 6. Wonderful stuff. Anyway, that appears to be it. Probably, thankfully. My my throat is getting hoarse. So thank you for all the questions. It certainly gave me enough to ramble on about. I hope you enjoyed me talking smack. Back to normal next week. Bye for now.